Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. Today, we are unpacking a truly complex biological marvel in this explainer: human birth and early infant nourishment. You know, we so often think of birth as just a single, sudden event, right? But biologically speaking, it is actually a meticulously timed, cascading series of biological triggers. It's literally a domino effect of life, where one perfectly engineered physical response just naturally triggers the exact next one. Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap. First, we're going to look at the 9-month gestation period. Then we'll explore the fetal ejection reflex, followed closely by the oxytocin feedback loop. After that, we'll cover the expulsion of the baby and placenta, move into mammary glands and lactation, and finally, we'll wrap up with colostrum and newborn immunity. All right, part 1, the 9-month gestation period. So, the magic number here is 9. The average duration of a human pregnancy is about 9 months, a time biologically known as the gestation period. And reaching this exact mark isn't just about crossing days off a calendar. It represents peak fetal development, and it sets the physiological stage for absolutely everything that follows. It is kind of like the essential calm before the biological storm. Which brings us to a really critical definition: parturition. Parturition is the process of delivery of the fully developed fetus, basically what we commonly call childbirth. But notice the key mechanism here. It is caused by vigorous contraction of the uterus at the end of pregnancy. I really want to emphasize that this is not random. It's a highly coordinated, extremely powerful biological process. Now, what's really interesting about this is the how. Parturition is induced by a complex neuroendocrine mechanism. If you break that big word down, it's this intricate interaction between the nervous system, the neuro part, and the endocrine, or hormone system. This vital mechanism relies entirely on invisible chemical signals communicating across the whole body to successfully initiate birth. Moving on to section 2, the fetal ejection reflex. Okay, so step 1, the domino effect requires the fetus and the placenta to fully develop. Once they're fully formed, we move to step 2. The primary signals for parturition actually originate from the fetus and placenta themselves. From there, in step 3, these signals travel to the maternal body and induce mild uterine contractions. Just imagine those invisible biological cues traveling outward from the baby directly into the surrounding uterine muscles. Pretty amazing, right? In the biological world, these initial mild contractions are scientifically known as the fetal ejection reflex. And this reflex is absolutely vital. It is the critical, foundational trigger that alerts the maternal brain, setting off the next massive hormonal shift. That leads us right into section 3, the oxytocin feedback loop. Let's move to this and see how it builds. First, the trigger. That fetal ejection reflex we just talked about triggers the release of a hormone called oxytocin, straight from the maternal pituitary gland. Second, the reaction. This oxytocin acts directly on the uterine muscle, which causes much stronger uterine contractions. And third, the escalation. These stronger contractions in turn stimulate the further secretion of even more oxytocin. It's a brilliant positive feedback loop. Basically, one contraction demands more oxytocin, which then forcefully demands an even stronger contraction. I want to just pause here for a second and ask you a question. What do you think doctors inject to induce delivery in a hospital setting? Take a second to think about the biological mechanism we literally just mapped out. How does modern medical science mimic this natural, cascading, stimulatory reflex? Well, if you guessed oxytocin, you are absolutely spot on. The very same hormone responsible for the natural stimulatory reflex between uterine contraction and hormone secretion is exactly what medical professionals use to artificially induce labor. It's nature's ultimate contraction catalyst, harnessed by medicine. Section 4, expulsion of baby and placenta. So the crucial point is that this stimulatory reflex between the uterine contractions and the oxytocin secretion, it just continues unabated, resulting in stronger and stronger contractions. This immense escalating pressure leads directly to the ultimate physical climax of parturition, which is the expulsion of the baby out of the uterus through the birth canal. The neuroendocrine mechanism has successfully done its job. But wait, the biological process isn't quite over yet. Soon after the infant is delivered, the placenta is also expelled out of the uterus. Remember, the placenta was instrumental in sending those very first signals to initiate birth in the first place. Impartition only truly concludes once this remarkable organ has also safely exited the body.
Section 5. Mammary glands and lactation.
It's honestly fascinating how the body prepares for this next phase. The mammary glands of the female undergo differentiation actually during pregnancy. They don't just wait until the baby is born. They are prepping concurrently with the 9-month gestation period. In fact, they start producing milk towards the very end of the pregnancy. This incredible preparatory process is known as lactation, ensuring the mother is biologically ready to feed the newborn almost immediately upon arrival.
And finally, Section 6. Colostrum and newborn immunity.
So, colostrum. This is the highly specialized milk produced during the initial few days of lactation. I want you to really note that phrase, initial few days. This early milk is biologically distinct from the milk produced weeks or months later in lactation, and it serves a very specific life-saving purpose. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why those first few days are so fundamentally vital. This early milk is packed with several essential antibodies because newborns enter a world full of unseen pathogens with entirely naive immune systems. These maternal antibodies are absolutely essential to develop early resistance. Because of this unparalleled natural immune boost, breastfeeding during the initial period of infant growth is heavily recommended by doctors for bringing up a healthy baby.
Wow, we have covered a massive amount of ground today in this explainer, tracing a perfectly choreographed biological dance from the first signals of the placenta all the way to the life-saving antibodies in colostrum. But I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. If the exact timing of the fetal ejection reflex and the oxytocin feedback loop dictates a safe delivery, how might external stress impact this incredibly fragile neuroendocrine balance? It's a question that reminds us just how delicate yet profoundly powerful human reproduction truly is. Keep questioning, keep learning, and thank you so much for joining me today.